Good morning, I'm Kathleen Cohen. I'm an experienced strategist. Sometimes folks call me a part humanist, a tech futurist, and I've been working in location-based entertainment and themed attractions and everything else that Peter had shared. Recently, I've added legacy architect, likeness producer to my repertoire, which is a mouthful, but hopefully after my talk, you'll get this 10,000-foot view into my view into physical and virtual our futures. So with that, thank you to Peter, to Josette, to Barry, to the Gray Area Foundation and team, and all of the sponsors for including me. So on Thursday's pre-conference, I was telling Josette, God, this is such a like-mindedness. The thought leadership in the group is so on point, and I love being here. How did I not connect with Gray Area for so many years, even though, I've been at Burning Man every year since 2001, so I'm like, how did I miss this? Anyway, so indulge me for a moment. I'm gonna share with you a little bit of a family story to start. So, this is wonderful. In October 2002, 17 years ago, it was my sole job to create a proper burial for my grandmother, Ann Cohen, at 98 years old. And that burial was to take place at the legendary Hollywood Forever Cemetery. So, show of hands, does anybody know about the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles? Okay, I think I saw 2 or 3 hands. So this place is super famous. It houses Bugsy Siegel, who created Las Vegas. I would go on to say Johnny and Dee Dee Ramone, Chris Cornell more recently, Rudolph Valentino back in the day. And over 60 years ago, my grandfather bought matching vaults for he and my grandmother, who was 28 years older than she. So I'm sitting in the funeral offices and I'm talking to the funeral director, and she's asking me about my needs, and she chimes in and she said, I just need to tell you, we're the production offices for 6 Feet Under, and we have a shoot going on, so we can't bury your grandmother right now. And I was like, we're Jews, we have 72 hours, she needs to go in the ground. So she's like, in 3 days, we can create a music video of her life, we can create a complete video production of her legacy, and think about this, when your family comes to the park, we're doing 4 rocks around the park where everybody that's buried here is gonna have a full production video. We could do that in 3 days. And, is that gonna work for you? It's like, no, it's not gonna work for me. And then she went on to ask the most provocative question that actually led to this talk. She said, while we prep her body, do you want us to grab her DNA? And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, when we prep her body, it's a good idea. You really should consider it. I was like, was that on the sign? Did you guys, is this what you guys are leading with, This was 2002, 17 years ago. This was like the uncanny valley of funeral requests back then, I was like, is she gonna say, do you want her ashes on my salad for takeout in the commissary? What the hell's going on here? I didn't even have a clue. So in 2002, Minority Report had just come out, and the feature phone was a Nokia feature phone sponsored in that movie, and it had a camera on it for the first time. So just to give some perspective on smartphones and where we were back then, even working in Hollywood, Steven Spielberg had to convene a futurist convention even to have Minority Report live up to its future, which it has. But the concept of collecting DNA was way beyond my realm. So this is a total special place here. I suggest if anybody's in LA, go check it out, because all these actors and musicians and all these luminaries, they're coming here to live. They're not coming to die. With capturing DNA, they're all living on. So this is what's really relevant at my talk as far as physical and virtual likeness in our near future. So can I show of hands, who's seen this movie? Really? Not one? Amazing. Everyone. Oh, see, there is somebody here. Hollywood, right? We sum it up all the time pretty well with what's going to happen in the future. So I'm going to read you a little blip about this so you understand. So this is the movie The Congress. It came out in 2013. And the short version is an aging, out-of-work actress accepts one last job, but the consequences of her decision affect her in so many ways she didn't consider. So Robin Wright, who actually played the Princess Bride, is back in this movie, and she agrees to preserve her likeness for a studio to use in any future film that it wants, but she can't no longer work. Only her likeness can work. So this begs a really big question, which is giving up one part of myself in exchange for freedom in another domain really worth it? And is the likeness of me more valuable than my real self at some point in the future? So with regards to agency and ownership and all the words that we talk about, I want you sort of to meet your digital twin right now. So we're currently sitting at this moment where we are the product. We as humans are the product. And all of our facial expressions, all of our behaviors, our walk cycle, our stunts, our dance moves, like in Fortnite, all of that is body shopped for parts soon and sold on the free marketplace. Which begs the question, what does it mean to be alive today? So this is 12 companies right now, and you can see Sean Young in the top right corner, what took 2 years for 1 minute for Blade Runner 2049. You can see that all of these folks are all coming to the table trying to find some kind of digital likeness solution. And there's so many phrases that we're trying to define what the common grammar here is or what the common definition is that we're all going to adhere to. And my question is, which one of these companies is actually going to be the one to own my likeness as a whole? My behavior, my walk cycle, my laugh, my talk, the way I wink, I raise one eyebrow. So most of all, though, what I think about is, are any one of these companies going to own my intent or any of my intentions in the future? And that's really the million-dollar question. So if that wasn't bad, this is 22 more names, unique names for your digital likeness, and 22 more companies also that I could have grabbed screenshots from what each one of these companies are doing to give you really the vastness of the land rush that's happening right now and how many folks are on this. I was going to run it like Star Wars, obviously, because it just keeps going. But, you know, without doing so consciously, everybody working on this long list is representing human progress or some kind of human intelligence, we think, right? And, you know, I respect what Soul Machines is doing in New Zealand. They're trademarking, or they have just trademarked digital DNA. So the company that originally has captured so much of our likeness from each digital human that it has now created a DNA to create a virtual gene pool. So, you know, you can look at this for the pros and look at the cons, but I'm thinking of this like, okay, so when I send my digital twin to a wedding, a friend's wedding, because I can't make it, it's socially going to be fine, right? Or when my digital twin gets sick in a foreign country, what's going to happen with that? So, you know, all these avatars and digital doubles have different names and understandings, and they all have different behaviors right now, but I think what is really important is the context of all of this, especially how we are all going to live in experiential spaces. So from my vantage point, I look at the architecture in 3 ways. I look at it from 1, me, 2, me and you together, what's happening, and 3, me, you, and the room and the environment. So what is that environment that we're all going to be sharing, especially while everything's being modified with its own DNA and everything is soon going to be smart? So this is Eva Schloss. I'm not going to ask who's seen this, but maybe, show of hands, okay. Eva Schloss, she's a Holocaust survivor, peace activist, she's a speaker, she's also the stepsister of Anne Frank, and she has an incredible story of triumph and grit, and she recently starred in this movie that was in Tribeca last year, or 2 years ago, I think it was last year. So this documentary follows Eva around as she takes on the idea of preserving her story, so of course it could be told forever in an immersive hologram. So where I go with this is, how soon is it going to be that we're, you know, going to be in the metaverse, sitting around our family table and wanting to have a conversation with somebody from our family history and pull them from our human library and have a, you know, family discussion. But when you think about this in the social relevance of it all and the potential when you push past outside your home, I think about, let's say, waves of attack, you know, the wave of attacks on places of worship, and I think, okay, now in the future, with an online search or any kind of search, I can actually pull up Eva, and she becomes a living hologram, so I can cope with what's happened. So, you know, I can talk to her and say, Eva, can you help me process what just happened? I can't deal, so I'm actually talking to somebody in real time. And in this case, she was asked 2,000 questions on a light stage and volumetrically captured, so she lives in perpetuity. And, you know, obviously to have impact, But think about when she dies and AI takes over and somebody's answering for her brand now. It's not her, but it's in alignment with her brand. Now it's sad to say that all of us need to be in check with our brand. I mean, aside from personal brand managers for social, which you're like, stop with this, please. But, you know, in this case, this has got more levity to this, or not levity, you know, it's got more weight to this. So who owns Eva's voice at this point? And she's dynamic, she's elastic now. And, you know, do you know who your great-grandmother was or your grandmother was? And would you, if you're the person in the family everybody said you're most like, would you want to talk to her? Of course you would. So this is it's a wordy slide, but let me sort of talk through it. So, you know, our perception of reality is more fragmentary than ever, and there's an opportunity to finally evolve now in a positive way as a species. So here's an example of who's documenting digital twins, and, you know, AWS, I do want to just paraphrase, or, you know, sort of clean up. I'm saying meet your digital twin, which really is bastardizing this for the industrialization and manufacturing industry. It's really not quite right. It's meet your digital human or meet your digital human twin, but this is all part of the grammar problem, right? Digital twinning right now is reserved for industrialization. So Amazon has created on the top of this chart what their definition is as you know, for a digital twin. And I'm looking at this and I'm hearing some of their folks talk, and I was like, well, can't I just swap out a couple things and call the bottom half, here's Kathleen Cohen's version of a digital twin, and follow the same roadmap that Amazon's going through. And I've highlighted in blue what the differences are here. And there's many more, but this is just at a first glance. So the insights here to gain are incredible if we match digital twins and digital human twins. And it made me think, do I want to keep my real identity as a digital twin? Maybe I do, because I have 51 years of some serious wisdom. I'm like, I don't want to give that up. But the flip side is, maybe I've had a lifelong disability and I never got to participate in a community, so yeah, I'm ready to give it up and actually have a voice that I'm respected for, or that I'm cherished, or that I'm taken at face value. So maybe I want to swap my gender on an hourly basis, on an as-needed basis, on a decade basis, or my race, or my age, anything. So the Hollywood part of storytelling and our digital twins is endless. Even if you change your cookie sets right now online and you can change your identity, have you played through that? Is that something that you'd be interested in doing to find out how you're perceived and the perceptual reality of all of it? So we could have so many relationships with our digital twins psychologically and behaviorally. I'm thinking, okay, no more existential crises, because I think I have one every damn day. And I'm a Gemini too, so it's like, you know, this is like, and a monkey in Chinese astrology. I think I'm like the clean sweep. So anyway, so where's this place? Where's this place for digital humans right now? You know, where's this place we're imagining spatially, immersively, as well as experientially? And from the tech side, all I ever hear is, you know, because I'm on the product side, we're in the developer years. I'm like, we've been in the developer years since I got off the box as an animator way back when. We've been in the developer years. But this gap that we're sitting in right now is causing a lot of pause for a lot of people. And it's also causing a lot of trickery for people and betrayal of trust with all the deep fakes that are out there and everybody taking this to, you know, a dark side. So maybe it is unfolding in dark ways, but maybe it's unfolding in, you know, new human interest stories that we have yet to even talk about. But what's really at play psychologically and emotionally is that we're indexing vulnerability, and this is like not Brené Brown, but we're indexing vulnerability in a way where we're in the observation of all of this. We're just sitting here and looking, or we're making a difference, especially in this room, because these are the people that do make the difference. So what are we going to be learning from all of this? And is it going to be how to connect more deeply as humans? Because we're all just going to have a big mirror held up to each other. So how's this all coming together right now, and which headset is going to transport us into the metaverse? And when does Ready Player One actually really kick in? So when does man and the machine fully merge, which I'm an advocate for without having to wear gear, but I don't know if I want retinal implants right now. But I do understand human potential, so, you know, what are the goals? So this past March on the cover of Wired, it was appropriately titled Welcome to the Mirror World, and the article pointed out not who we were as digital human twins, but who we were in the environment and what this environment's going to look like. So I'm going to read their quote. "The mirror world is quoted as someday soon, every place and thing in the real world, every street, every lamppost, every building, and every room is going to have a full-size digital twin in the mirror world, a virtual place that's going to parallel the real world." And all of this is maybe falling on deaf ears for everybody here, but maybe not, just seeing, the, again, 10,000-foot view. And it's already happening, and we all know this. So here's one mirror world called the Magicverse, which is Magic Leap's version of the metaverse or the mirror world or smart cities. And they're calling it their emergent system of systems driven by AI and geographical information systems and IoT. And of course, a way into this world is through their Magic Leap 1 goggles. So AR, VR, MR, XR, RR, yeah. It's a vehicle for sure to understand our spatial relations and to understand our collective, collaborative tissue in all of this. And it's got a lot of questions, it's got a lot of complications, it's got a lot of innovations. But are we going to solve systemic world problems with this? And is that on everybody's radar? I hear a lot of that from Thursday to today, so I'm so hopeful. But what I look at this too is from the lens of the timeline. So I created this a history timeline and a future timeline, and this is just the future one I'm showing right now, but here's where we are today. So we're sitting at the red dot. We're straddling between integrated media and immersive media. And this future timeline, if you do have or don't have something to say about Moore's Law and the rate of tech changing and where we're ultimately ending with that, we haven't had a moment to breathe at all in the darker blue box in the immersive era. And we've already moved into the white box with disruptive and exponential, with autonomous vehicles, with 5G. It's like start taking kelp and iodine now. Computer vision, voice tech, all of it, 3D printing of cities. And then moving past the white box after another recession, RIP, Ray Kurzweil puts it, the singularity happens, artificial superintelligence takes over, if you believe in that timeline. So if you don't want to find yourself living in a video game at that point, and this is my shout out to all architects and urban designers and planners, where the hell are you? This is all one big video game from my game design background, and how are you not driving this spatial conversation right now with the questions that you ask that game developers are not asking? So if you don't want to live in that video game, then you have another option, which is space colonization. That's what I call the not terra firma option, but kinda, because maybe death is imminent up there. I don't know, but that could be your plan B, and that's happening at a rapid rate too in Silicon Valley with all the techno-philanthropists that are, on that charge. But here's the point, it's 26 years away. So yeah, sci-fi is our reality. Everything you've ever done since 1993 to today is the timeline forward. Everything you've done since 1993 to today. So this is a critical time period forward, and we have to put this into perspective. It's not that far away. Either we're living through it, our kids are living through it, or our kids' kids. And the conditions are that it could look like the hyper-reality video on YouTube from the last 3 years, or it could reflect what's unfolding in China's social credit system as far as in a public space we're all being gamified. And whether that's for social good or the control of government, it's certainly happening. So my question is, who do you think owns your face in America? If surveillance technology captures your face in a public space, who do you think owns it? And do you think you own yourself in a public space or a virtual space? And if you even take what's happened in the last 2 weeks with the aging app, someone owns the media of your likeness, not yet created 50 years ahead already. So many of my colleagues are up to this on the glass half full side, not the glass half empty, but I know that there's a Hunger Games version of this talk going on somewhere. And this is the moment, the whole point, that our decisions are either going to bridge or broaden gaps. And with respect to our digital twins and relating to one another, at what point is my digital likeness going to be more relevant than my physical being? What date does that kick in? And is my likeness going to minimize my physical death? Because technically I'm going to be perceived as immortal at some point. So when does that kick in? So I'm all about giving shape to the conversation, inquiring about what's rightfully yours, making this the most creative moment in the future. And yeah, in real life, some people are calling this the protopian era. It's not the dystopian, it's not the utopian, it's protopian, which is defined by the state of becoming. And from the day your mom puts your 4D ultrasound on Facebook to the day you die, to your legacy beyond, what are the products and services that you think you need at this point while we're living to have agency over your digital twin before anybody else does? And if we're in the becoming of it all, what do we do with it? So you can call me. You can call me to talk about being your legacy architect, your immersive likeness producer, I have to look at my notes because I don't even know how to say this without like tripping, your experiential consumer advocate. I don't know. I'm like, is there anybody out there advocating for me? So I'm trying to lock down a feasibility study around this right now, building a futures community designed with intention, with products and services that tailor to your real life, your real likeness, your real legacy, not leaving out the magic that makes up each one of us, but most importantly, to have a behavioral psychologist, a cultural anthropologist, and a sociologist sitting next to every young AI engineer before they design any algorithm about me. So thank you.